Why Sigma INFJs are masters in playing dumb. Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a Sigma INFJ, thinking they were aloof, distracted, or perhaps a little too quiet? You may have even underestimated them. But here's the unsettling truth: what you perceived as disengagement was likely a calculated, deliberate act. Sigma INFJs are not only deeply intuitive and intelligent, but they also know the power of subtlety. One of their most underrated strengths is the ability to play dumb. This isn't about manipulation for cruelty or attention. It's a conscious, often protective strategy rooted in complex emotional intelligence, survival instinct, and the deep need for autonomy. If you're an INFJ, specifically a Sigma INFJ, you've likely done this more than once, even if you couldn't put a name to it. You play dumb not because you are, but because you know something others don't. Revealing your full awareness too early can cost you more than it will earn you. Let's dive in. 1. They use playing dumb as an observational tool. Sigma INFJs are deeply strategic thinkers. Their introverted intuition, (NI), allows them to perceive layers of meaning and see connections long before others do. But instead of flaunting this awareness, they often pretend not to notice. Why? Because observation is more fruitful when people think you aren't really paying attention. Imagine this: you're in a room full of people, and someone is trying to manipulate the narrative. You instantly recognize the shift in tone, the performative smile, the coded language. But instead of challenging them, you nod politely, keeping your expressions neutral. Internally, you're taking mental notes, watching how others respond, calculating motives and trajectories. You play dumb because it disarms the manipulator and allows the truth to surface on its own. For INFJs, the real power lies in seeing without being seen. And playing dumb is the perfect cloak of invisibility. 2. They avoid unnecessary ego clashes. INFJs are peacekeepers at heart. They do not enjoy power struggles or intellectual showdowns unless they are absolutely necessary. In a world where many are addicted to being right, Sigma INFJs often take the back seat, not because they lack opinion or insight, but because they know the futility of arguing with someone not ready to hear the truth. In debates, meetings, or even casual conversations, you might find yourself dumbing down your language or pretending not to have all the answers. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You instinctively understand that sometimes it's better to let someone believe they've won than to escalate tension for no productive outcome. Think about a time when you knew someone was lying or misinformed, and you said nothing. You stayed quiet, not because you couldn't speak up, but because the emotional temperature of the room wasn't ready for the truth. That's not avoidance, that's emotional mastery. Choose your battles. Keep reminding yourself that silence isn't always surrender. Sometimes it's a strategy for long-term peace and emotional preservation. 3. They protect themselves from emotional vampires. Sigma INFJs are natural empaths. They absorb emotions like a sponge and can easily be overwhelmed by toxic people. Playing dumb becomes a defense mechanism. When they sense someone who is manipulative, narcissistic, or simply too draining, INFJs shrink their emotional availability and intellectual visibility. They let the other person think they are slow, naive, or disinterested. Why? Because engaging too deeply with toxic people opens the door to being exploited. And once an INFJ realizes someone's energy is parasitic, they shift into self-protective mode. Maybe you had a colleague who kept fishing for personal information or subtly putting you down. Instead of reacting, you gave short answers, acted confused, or laughed off their comments. Inside, you were drawing the boundary, silently. You weren't confused, you were done. Practice intentional withdrawal. You don't need to explain or justify your boundaries. Let them think you're indifferent or unaware. Your energy is too precious to be wasted on anyone who doesn't respect your emotional depth. 4. They understand the power of timing. Sigma INFJs have a deep relationship with timing. They know when to speak, when to act, and when to stay quiet. Playing dumb often buys them time. Time to gather more information. Time to test someone's consistency. Time to build trust or let someone reveal their true colors. This is not deception, it's discernment. INFJs understand that not every truth needs to be voiced in the moment. And sometimes, revealing your intelligence too early shifts the power dynamics in unproductive ways. You may be in a new group or workplace, fully aware of internal tensions or political undercurrents. But you choose to appear passive or unsure at first. You allow people to underestimate you because you know your greatest leverage is your unpredictability. 5. They use it to bypass social expectations. Sigma INFJs often feel alienated by conventional social expectations. Small talk, hierarchy, fake social norms, none of it comes naturally. Playing dumb is sometimes a subtle rebellion. Instead of pretending to be excited about surface-level conversations or performative behavior, they opt out by shrinking their presence. They pretend not to understand certain trends or social games, not because they truly don't, but because they see through them. It's a form of quiet protest. Maybe at a party, you played along with a conversation about status symbols or superficial gossip, nodding and smiling, while internally you were miles away, analyzing the emotional subtext and disillusioned by the emptiness. You weren't out of place. You were just more awake than the room. Don't force yourself to engage where you don't feel aligned. Let others misread you. It frees you from their expectations and allows you to stay true to your deeper values. 6. They protect their inner world. INFJs live rich internal lives that few will ever fully understand. Their thoughts are layered, philosophical, and deeply reflective. Because of this, they are extremely cautious about who they let into their inner world. Playing dumb becomes a way to guard their intellectual and emotional sanctuary. They know that if they openly express how much they understand or how deeply they think, people may either try to exploit that knowledge or invalidate it. So, they cloak their depth in simplicity. They give vague answers, change the subject, or act like they miss the point. When asked personal questions that you find too intrusive, you might play oblivious or pretend you didn't hear. This isn't avoidance, it's sacred self-preservation. Trust your instinct to protect your inner world. Not everyone deserves access to the vastness of your mind and soul. Keep it hidden until someone proves they can hold it with reverence. 7. They are masters at long-term influence. Sigma INFJs are not interested in dominating a room. They want to influence it silently, subtly, and over time. By playing dumb initially, they lower others' defenses, gather information, and eventually shift the direction of relationships, conversations, or environments without ever seeming forceful. This is their version of quiet leadership. They do not need to be the loudest, the most assertive, or the most noticed. Instead, they seed ideas, ask the right questions, or plant subtle truths that blossom later in others' minds. You may have helped someone rethink their toxic behavior not by confronting them, but by asking a deceptively simple question at the right moment. Days later, that person changed, not because you challenged them, but because you invited them to see something they had ignored. Own your influence. You don't have to lead like everyone else. Playing dumb isn't passive, it's a slow burn strategy that allows your presence to change people without resistance. So now you know. Playing dumb isn't a flaw. It's a skill. It's a shield. It's a strategy crafted from deep intuition, emotional wisdom, and the need to protect what is sacred. If you're a Sigma INFJ, stop apologizing for being misunderstood. Start honoring your ability to move through the world in a way that sees everything, while saying just enough. Let others underestimate you. Let them misread your silence. You are not here to prove your intelligence, but to use it wisely. If this resonated with you, share it with another INFJ who needs to hear it. Leave a comment about a moment when you played dumb and knew exactly what you were doing. And most importantly, subscribe for more deep, INFJ-centered content that speaks to your rarest self. You are not alone. You are not lost. You are simply watching, waiting, and shaping the world in your own subtle, brilliant way. Stay safe, and see you in the next one.